All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of our Franchise Your Business podcast and webinar series. My name is Tom DuFore, and I'm the founder and CEO of Big Sky Franchise Team, where if you're thinking about franchising your business, we can help you with that. We take care of all of your franchise needs to franchise your business with a three-step proven process that we take you through. And if you happen to be in franchising already and you're a franchisor and would like another set of eyes to take a look at what you're doing, how you're doing it, or maybe just need some help, please let us know. We're here to help. You can schedule a free, no obligation consultation, whether you're looking to franchise your business or help with your current franchise system. Go to our website at bigskyfranchiseteam.com. That's bigskyfranchiseteam.com. So glad for you to join us here today. Today is our April franchise sales and marketing trend session, and it has been a little while since we've done one of these. It's been 2 months, maybe 3. And so I'm so glad to be back and sharing this and going through this information with you. So thank you for joining us. For those of you that are able to tune in live or are listening to this as a recording. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen and get this show started to start talking about some of this economic data and starting to make a little sense of it. So the first report that we like to take a look at is the Institute for Supply Management. They produced 2 reports. They have produced the Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index and the Services Purchasing Managers Index. If you've been on our session in the past, you may have noticed that they used to have 3 reports. So for many, many years, they had just these 2. Then they added a third in the healthcare segment a couple years ago and recently stopped producing that. So let's jump into the manufacturing PMI. And as you can see here, for the last couple of months, manufacturing PMI has really taken quite a big jump here. So it says manufacturing PMI at 52.7%. And this report was analysis was done by Susan Spence, and she's a chair of the Institute for Supply Management Manufacturing Business Survey Committee. And the paragraph reads, the U.S. manufacturing sector expanded in March for the 3rd straight month following a 10-month period of contraction, registering 52.7%, a 0.3 percentage point increase compared to February's reading of 52.4%. Of the 5 sub-indexes that directly factor into the manufacturing PMI, 3, new orders, production, and supplier deliveries, were in expansion territory, the same as in February. So what can we make of this? Well, this is what I have found over and over and over again. When we see, we've got 3 data points now. This is a trend. We're seeing that in 2026, manufacturing purchasing PMI is up above that 50th percentile, and that 50% is the manufacturing break-even line. And the significance of that is I view manufacturing PMI as a leading indicator. So this is telling us where things are headed. So this should mean, in my opinion, that we should start seeing, if you're a small business and things have felt a little tight or a little tough here for the last couple of years, take a look at 24, 25 for manufacturing PMI. It's below that 50% for the manufacturing economy, and then the overall economy break-even line at 47.5% on this dotted line, which means that we were hovering just below or just above for the manufacturing PMI for the last 2 years, for 2024 and 2025. So this popping up means that you should start to see a little bit more grip and a little more traction in your businesses to get things going, to get things back, and maybe even getting some decisions on a yes a little bit sooner. So, and when will that happen? Well, we tend to see this as a leading indicator. So it could be 3 months, could be 6 months, could be a year or 18 months down the road. But you should start seeing something like that, assuming this trend continues. Next up is the services PMI, And this analysis was done by Steve Miller and he is a chair of the Institute for Supply Management, the Services Business Survey Committee. And here on this report, this is the March 2026 report, it reads services PMI at 54%. So in March, the services PMI registered 54%, 1.7 percentage points above its 12-month moving average. A reading above 50% indicates the services sector economy is generally expanding. Below 50% indicates that it is generally contracting. A services PMI above 48.1% over time generally indicates an expansion of the overall economy. Therefore, the March services PMI indicates the overall economy is expanding for the 70th straight month. So we can see a nice incline and in this reading here, really dating back to about September of 25. It looks like maybe August, September, where you see this nice upward cycle here on this. So 2025 was interesting because you had this kind of falling from 2024 highs to about mid-year or so in 2025, and then it started ramping back up at the end of 2025 coming into 2026. So all in all, a good indicator for us. Next, let's take a look at the unemployment rate. And the unemployment rate, this is from tradingeconomics.com, the United States unemployment rate. And it says the U.S. unemployment rate fell to 4.3% in March 2026 from 4.4% in February, below market expectations of 4.4%. The number of unemployed decreased by 332,000 to 7.239 million, while total employment fell by 64,000 to 162.85 million. Labor force declined by 396,000 to 170.09 million, pushing the participation rate down 0.1 percentage point to 61.9%. Meanwhile, the broader U6 unemployment rate, which includes discouraged and underemployed workers, rose to 8% from 7.9%. And the source is from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So you can see here 4.3 that in general, we see this is starting to move down. We can take a look at the 10-year trend here, which is helpful to see back in 2016. You see a slow, steady decline in the unemployment rate up through about February of 2020. Then COVID hit in March of 2020. We see the big spike, all of the activity starting to happen in unemployment, and then it dropping down and looking to kind of bottom out in early 2023 at about 3.6%, and then slowly coming up over the last few years. And it looks like it's maybe starting to trend down just a bit here for the unemployment rate. So to me, all in all, I think this is overall tends to be a positive sign. And it also means that it might be harder for your franchisees to be finding and recruiting quality people. So keep that in mind. We have the U.S. inflation rate, and in March, that inflation rate bumped up to 3.3% from 2.4%, so a pretty substantial jump. And it said, this is from tradingeconomics.com about the United States inflation and CPI. It says the annual inflation rate in the U.S. jumped to 3.3% in March of 2026, marking the highest level since May of 24, and a sharp increase from 2.4% in February and January. Figures came in line with forecasts, with the rise primarily driven by higher energy costs, 12.5%, mostly gasoline, which was up 18.9%, and fuel oil up 44.2% due to the war with Iran. So we see that this increase is largely driven from global issues and international relations issues here that we see impacting this. So you may be seeing that, feeling that definitely at the gas pump when you're filling up. And if you run a business that relies on fuel, just be mindful. Just something worth noting: if you're selling franchises or working with your franchisees, it might be worth noting that they may need to put a temporary surcharge in just to help adjust their prices during these higher increased fuel cost windows. So just keep that perspective in mind, and have a plan for your franchisees. If you have a services business, commercial or home services, where maybe you're driving or commuting, or you have a mobile business, just know to have a plan or to be talking about that. Okay, next up here is the uh, surveys of consumers from the University of Michigan, and there's the Index of Consumer Sentiment, and we'll just take a look at the last 10 years here, and you can see as I zoom in, the survey sentiment is at really some of its lowest levels. It looks like it's almost equal to where it was in the middle of 2022, which is the lowest point it had been at in 10 years. And then if we look at the 50-year cycle, we're basically about as low as the survey of consumer sentiment was around 19. This looks like around 1980 or so. It's kind of hard to get precise on this chart here because it's 50 years out, but it looks like right around 1980 or so is when that bottomed out. So hopefully, it looks like based off of this chart, it's a rare territory that it's been this low, and it's rare that it's been this low for any extended period of time. So hopefully that means the only place where we can go is up, hopefully, fingers crossed, and get that consumer sentiment up and moving. Okay, next up is from the U.S. Census Bureau, and this is for new business formation statistics. This came out on April 8th of 2026, and when you click in on this, it shows the number of new business applications that have been filed across the country. And it reads U.S. business applications. Total U.S. business applications in March of 2026 was 491,000, which was down 0.9% from February of 2026. But all in all, you can see how new business applications is surging. And just over the last even 4 years or so, 3 years or so, from dating back to around right around 2024. So I guess the last 2.5 years, you can see it was around 425,000 or so. And now you see the surge. It's trending just under 500,000. The last few months, just over 500,000 new business applications. So why does this matter? Well, to me, this says that if you are, if you're in franchise sales and you're talking to prospects, know that entrepreneurship and the startup mindset is on the hearts and minds of the people you're talking to. So keep that perspective in mind as you go through it. So they are likely thinking about seriously starting their own business, whether they buy your franchise or start their own. That to me is a big indicator of what's happening there. Okay, let's take a look at some of the franchiseinsights.com data and information that's come out. So this is from April 1st, 2026 by Michael Alston for Franchise Insights. And the heading reads, 2/3 of franchise prospects say AI impacts their interest in business ownership. So 2/3 of franchise prospects say AI impacts their business ownership. 34% said it has no impact. 30% says it makes me favor businesses that would be less likely to be displaced by AI. 26% said it boosts their desire to control their own destiny rather than losing their current occupation to AI. 24% said it makes them want to find a business enhanced or enabled by AI. 12% said it reduces the amount of capital they have to invest. 6% said they've put their ambitions on hold and wait to see how things unfold. And 6% said other. So bottom line is people out there that are thinking about starting a franchise, starting a business, buying a franchise, about 1/3 are saying it's going to have no impact, and 2/3 are saying it's going to impact them in some way. And from reading this, it looks like the majority, this is going to make them want to buy into a business or a franchise to take control of their own destiny. So the second report we're going to look at was released on Wednesday this week, April 22nd of 2026. And this heading is franchise development prospects believe they possess the strengths to own their own franchises. So these are franchise prospects' top 3 self-reported strengths for franchise ownership. So the number one highest percentage was grit, persistence towards a goal despite obstacles. 58.5% said that they have that skill. 55.4% said they have a willingness to follow a proven system. 52.3% said team leadership experience. Those are the top 3, and it's a top 3 by a pretty significant number. 38.5% said that they have prior business ownership. 33.8% said they have access to sufficient startup capital. 30.8% said they have a supportive spouse or partner, and 27.7% said that they have experience in the business segment they are pursuing. So the thing I look at are these top 3, and that half of the responses showed that they have grit, a willingness to follow a system, and team leadership experience. Now, these are self-assessed results, but if you're choosing, these are 3 pretty good ones that you'd love to see at the top if you're selling franchises. Okay, next up here is a report from April 15th, 2026 that Michael Alston prepared for Franchise Insights, and it says solutions to the enigma of failed initial contact with prospects. It says, were you contacted by the franchises you requested information from? So 40.2% of prospects said that they were contacted by all of the franchises that reached out to them. 16.6% said at least half. 14.2% said less than half. And 29% said none of them. So what does that mean? Well, that means what we're seeing on here is that about 34%, roughly 34% or 33% of all 33.2% of all responders of all leads, according to the survey, 33.2% of franchise systems did not contact these buyers. And that means that, we're looking at, let's see, 56.8% said that all of them, or at least half, had reached out to them. So that's pretty substantial. So you got, I think I said 33, it should be 43.2%. 43.2% were less than half or none. And then 56.8% said all of them, or at least half. So just worth noting, plenty of room for improvement for franchisors and franchise salespeople. And if maybe there's a good chance you did contact them or you did reach out to them, but still 43% are saying they were not contacted, or less than half were contacted, which means maybe they didn't get your email, maybe it went to a spam, maybe they didn't check your text, maybe you didn't leave a voicemail, and they would have gotten that. So just some food for thought and things worth noting. And then on March 8th of 26, Michael Alston prepared this report for Franchise Insights. It says small business startup sentiment rebounds for second month. So it says March 8th, 2026, startup sentiment rebounded for the second consecutive month in March 2026. Surveys as business buyer surveys showed that 64.0% of persons exploring ownership agree or strongly agree that, quote, now is a good time for startup, unquote, up from a recent low of 30% in December. So what does that mean? Well, December was going to be a bit of a challenging time where, and even looking back at November, those numbers were pretty low, and it really dropped down in September of 25. It did pop back in November, but September of 25, there's really a consistent trend of going downward. And now we see the last 2 months with February and March, this is coming up, that the sentiment is improving. So that means it should be a little bit easier to be selling a franchise last month, or in February, in March, and hopefully that's continuing into the month of April. Okay, next up on our list here are the top 10 business opportunity categories. So this is from franchiseinsights.com, and it reads, the following business opportunity categories showed the greatest inquiries in the last 90 days. And so I'm pretty sure this is the franchise list here, and it shows that home services accounted for 26.9% of all franchise inquiries, or of all business opportunity inquiries. Business services accounted for 23.3%. Senior and healthcare was 10.3%. Cleaning and maintenance, 8.6%. Food and restaurant, 5.6%. Those are your top 5. Then the next 5 are child-related, 5.1%, retail, 4.2%, pet services, 3.1%, automotive, 2.6%, and education, 2.6%. So what does this mean? Well, to me, what it means is that what I found over the years is if your category is at or above 10% of category share, it's going to be easier. It should be easier to find leads. So home services, business services, senior and healthcare, those are above 10%. Under 10%, it's still a strong case, especially if you're in the top 10 categories. So these top 10 categories means if you're in a top 10 category, in general, it should mean that it's a bit easier to find the number of leads you're looking for. So that is our episode today here, folks. I'd love to ask for any questions if anyone has any questions. And while I'm waiting for those to come in, just a reminder, if you have not subscribed to our podcast, please do so at Franchise Your Business or our second podcast, Multiply Your Success. Or if you're a YouTuber and you love YouTube, please like and follow our YouTube channel where you get updates on the content that we are regularly producing. I am so thankful that for everyone to have joined us here. Please make sure if you are ready to have a conversation about franchising your business or growing your franchise system, reach out to us at bigskyfranchiseteam.com. We've got some great offerings going on right now that we'd love to share with you. You can visit us at bigskyfranchiseteam.com to schedule your free, no obligation consultation. Thanks for being here, everyone. We look forward to our next session and seeing you all soon. Have a great weekend.